I can't hear you. Try going down to the microphone where it has the little caret. And it should allow you to select a microphone. Do you see the bar down at the bottom, like where you share your screen? There should be a microphone. Yeah, because there should. This is so weird because it was working fine yesterday. I can't hear you. Oh, I'm sorry. But yeah, there should be a microphone down at the bottom, like the bar that shows up for Zoom that has like the share your screen. I think it might be hidden underneath your other computer bar. And there should be a way where you can select different microphones. I usually choose the same as system. Yeah. Yeah, you just have to call in. I'm sorry. There should be a way where you can switch to the phone audio. Is that how you did it on the last one? Where you had to call a number? I can't hear you. Oh, make sure you change your name too. If you go to participants and click on the 3 dots, you can change your name. You can rename yourself because right now it just says host 500. Are you there, Peggy?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, now I can hear you.
Is it, am I loud enough?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, well, that was awkward.
Sorry. I don't know why that's happening that way because it worked fine yesterday when we were practicing.
Yeah, I know. Up until I have a session, everything's fine.
Yeah.
But, you know, I can hold the phone to my ear. I mean, at least the video ought to be there. Let's see.
Yeah, it sounds good.
I'll share the screen and find our presentation. And all right. So welcome everybody coming in. We'll be starting in a little bit. I have audio issues with my computer, of course, right? I just tried to do a session and my audio wasn't working. So luckily they have the phone back up.
You have the Menti all ready to go too?
Yeah, let me, I see it says to reclaim host. Leanne is host. I'll reclaim it. Okay. Let me pull it. All right, it's gonna go back. So that's ready to go. I hope everybody's having a great morning, afternoon, or evening.
Yeah. Not sleep well.
So I had, do you have a bar at the top about reclaiming host?
Not right now. Once I think
Okay.
once I share the screen, it'll probably ask
Let's
me.
see it. Yeah, I don't see it. I think I'm host now.
Yeah.
Whoops. Go back. So you got up early?
I did. My mom was messaging me from, well, she's in Prague right now.
Oh, nice.
Started messaging me
How's
at-
that going?
It's going great. This is her last day, so they're gonna head out tomorrow.
Oh, okay, cool.
She's with Steve Hoper's group.
Of course.
Yes. Pauline's on that trip too.
Oh,
For birthday.
yeah. I hope that's going well for her.
Yeah, I hope so too. My mom said there were a couple days that she kind of took off just to give her ankle a rest, but she seemed to be doing good.
Good.
She'll be coming back just in time to get ready for school.
What date do you go back for meetings?
I think it's like the 8th. We have buyback days, a couple buyback days, and then our official meeting on that.
Where does the summer go?
Must be later than that, because we start on the 15th. It must be the 10th.
Yes, what, the 26th today? So yeah, that's a few weeks.
Yeah. After this is all done, I'm gonna make a few demonstration videos for the math and AP environmental science for the math packet that I give for summer, and post that on their Google Classroom so they can look through it if they have any questions.
Oh, good.
Fun stuff. I'm sure some of the kids haven't even looked at their summer work, so.
A rude awakening the last week before school starts.
Right.
Well, we've got a couple more minutes. We wait and see how many people come.
Surprised Grace isn't here yet. Oh, maybe it's her. Oh, there's Amy. Hi, Amy.
Hey, there's Amy.
I'm you.
There's
Hey!
host 500.
Yeah, you can call me host 500. It's so I'm a bit of a space case this morning because I talked to Grace not even an hour ago about
Hey, Grace.
doing what. Okay, there she is. Hey, Grace.
Okay, hi Grace.
Hello. Our GISN networking session. Oh, we're already recording. I'm gonna pause.
Good morning from Panama.
Hello.
Okay. All right, so I think it's time to begin. What do you think, Amy?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Well, hi. I'm Peggy Folletta, and I'm an education specialist at Elkhorn Slough Reserve, and My partner is Leanne Olson, and she's the lead Globe teacher at Kingsburg High School in Central California. We are really excited to share with you the learning about protocols Hydrosphere session we're beginning right now. In this session, we're going to highlight the importance of and how to carry out water temperature and water pH protocols. We're going to describe where a good hydrosphere site should be located. We're then going to link these protocols to the Earth as a System bundles, and then describe how climate change and human impacts relate to nitrates and dissolved oxygen parameters, which will then allow us to segue into the second part of this morning's protocol session, Green Up and Green Down. Leanne is Globe lead teacher and Globe partner at Kingsburg High School in Central California. She was once a student of mine at Kingsburg High School. I became a Globe teacher there in 1995, and when I retired and moved to the coast of California, Leanne took over my teaching position in Kingsburg and continues the Globe legacy there. I was thrilled. I am now an informal educator, Globe partner, and trainer at the Elkhorn Slough National Estuarine Research Reserve. Leanne and my Hydrosphere story began back in 1999 when Leanne became a student in my AP biology class. Here we were in Yosemite National Park and Mono Lake in California collecting Globe Hydrosphere data. This was the beginning of a 6-year Hydrosphere study carried out by this class and future KHS Globe classes. From the snow-covered Sierra Nevada mountains down to the agricultural Central Valley, we studied 2 forks of the Merced River watershed. Leanne is measuring transparency on the right, bottom picture, and on the left, she is with students she mentored at our partner elementary school in the park. We would spend the night at their school, Wawona School, and they became a Globe school that year. We helped them put up their weather station. And we continued to partner with that school for 16 years. Leanne is reporting the current hydrosphere conditions in the upper right photo. You see she has a microphone? She was reporting live, direct from Yosemite via satellite to the Globe community with another partner school we had, Bluefield High School in West Virginia. And they were in their field at the time, and we were both communicating to the Globe community from a satellite. Our title for our project was Latitude 37 North. Our sites are temperate, but oh so different. I hear some background sounds. Maybe we can find them. The schools also compared land cover and land cover data and soil data, and they met each other when they presented their findings at the GLE, the Global Learning Expedition, that was held in Arkansas in 2000. In the center, the class poses in front of a very, very salty Mono Lake, located on the leeward side of the mountains below Yosemite. Water quality there was extremely different from the Merced River we had just studied. I'm on the left. Leanne is in the front row in the red cap. That was a long time ago. Here we have a Globe visualization, and it shows 16 years of water pH data collected by all those students. And this is one of the findings we had from that 16-year study was as the snow melt ran across the granite rocks, this led to low alkalinity, and the pH of the snow melt was not buffered by if it had been carbonate rocks. And gradually, through the years, the pH decreased, and it must have had something to do with acid rain. Now, we're curious to learn a little bit about you and what kinds of hydrosphere sites you use. And so I have a couple of interactive questions here. And if you could grab a phone, if you have a phone or an iPad or even another window on your computer, if you could go to www.menti.com, the two questions will come up and you can go ahead and answer them. And there's a code at the bottom that you need to put in. So please take a minute or two and enter that. And I see some words are coming up right now. Write up to 3 words you think of when you think of the hydrosphere. This is a word cloud, and it will continue to grow as you continue to write. You can put 3 words in it. I'm going to cover it up for a minute, and we'll get back to it. You keep typing that in, and we'll see what people are thinking about when they think about hydrosphere. And the second question, you can go right on to that question. It is about what water bodies you think that you will study with your students. See how it's going here. Macroinvertebrates is pretty big there.
I'm
That's
excited to
a
see
very
that.
important one. Not an easy one.
And microplastics,
But in a,
that I'm really interested in getting. into.
oh, microplastics, yay. Hopefully new protocol soon.
Yeah.
What else do we see? Typhoon.
Watch as it develops.
Yeah, it is fun. Inspiration. Oh, I like that one. Aquatic life. Stream, flowing, connection, relax. I'm not surprised water is the main word. The bigger the word, you know, the more of you have put it in. Mangrove. Oceans as an endpoint. Excellent. Watersheds. Clean. Well, we hope so. Anyway, that's great. These are some great ideas. We'll give you another 10 seconds. All right. Beautiful, beautiful. Now, let's go on to the next question and find out which of these types of water bodies do you plan to monitor with your students? And it's almost like lined up from left to right going down. So rivers, definitely the most popular. And lakes and streams. Oh, streams are catching up, ponds are catching up. Hey, some people are studying estuaries, yay. And the ocean, we need some more ocean protocols.
Well, good. I'm glad a lot of like you are studying the river because we're going to be talking about river a lot.
Yeah, we are. And but oh, and there's some other. Now I'm curious. I didn't know what else to put. Okay, well, thank you for joining us in that little survey. And we'll go back to the presentation, and Leanne's going to
Yeah, I will
take
go
it from
ahead
here.
and take over. So if you want to go ahead and stop sharing, Peggy, I guess it's not going to let me share. Oh wait, there it is. All right. So why should we and students study the hydrosphere? You know, water, as we know, especially those of us that are in part of the world experiencing drought, that me included. Our water is very important, but it's not just the quantity of water, kind of where water is located, but it's also the quality of water. And I know some of you mentioned clean, and, you know, testing the quality. And students can see through the course of the year how either the quality of the water or other conditions of the water may change. And there are many investigations that are easy to conduct for students to test questions that they have about the waterways around them. And their data can then reveal environmental issues that are immediately affecting their community. And they can compare their investigations to what NASA satellites are monitoring and help to validate those measurements. And any body of water can work for these investigations, including streams, rivers, as we see, lakes, those are all very popular, coastal waters, and even man-made ditches and ponds. So even if you don't have access to a natural source, you can use the man-made ditches and ponds as well. So what do we mean when we say hydrosphere? We're talking about all of the water on Earth, both underground and on the surface, deep within the ocean, and also in the atmosphere, as well as any of the ice found on Earth. And water covers about 70% of the Earth, but a very small percentage of that is actually fresh water that we can consume. So even though we're a water-based planet, there's very little, comparatively speaking, that is usable by us. Water is a very unique substance, and it's present in 3 main states of matter. It can be a gas in our atmosphere, as a liquid in our oceans and rivers, and as a solid in our ice caps and glaciers. And we know that life depends on this water. Life as we understand it is very dependent on water. A few organisms can survive without it for a while, but eventually they're going to need to have it in order to complete their life processes. Terrestrial life, we know, is distributed based on where water is available. And aquatic life, even though they live within the water, what they depend on within that water is the dissolved nutrients and gases that are within it. And those are necessary for their life processes. And water is unique, as I said earlier. It has to do with its structure. And without getting into too much on the chemistry behind it, we see that water is polar, which means that it has kind of these opposite charges on the sides of the water molecule, and that allows them to dissolve many different substances, a lot of nutrients that have a charge, and even gases. Even though gases don't always have a charge on them, they're so small that they can kind of fit in between those water molecules as the water molecules kind of move and jostle around. And that allows water to hold on to these important nutrients and gases for organisms that live in the water. There's a lot of energy that's required in order to change the temperature of water and get it to kind of change from a liquid to a gas form. And so this means that water can hold a temperature for a long time. So we find that when the air temperature is really cold, usually the body of water is a little warmer. And when the air is really hot, the body of water is a little cooler. And obviously this is beneficial to the organisms living in the water because the temperature is remaining constant. But it's also a way for really large bodies of water on Earth, like oceans and large lakes, to regulate both the regional climate and the global climate as well. So because of this, we see that Earth is really just one giant system of these 4 different spheres. You have your atmosphere, hydrosphere, biosphere, and pedosphere, lithosphere was talked about yesterday. If you attended the learning about protocols sessions yesterday, they focused on pedosphere. We'll be focusing on hydrosphere, and later we'll be talking about biosphere. And so the hydrosphere is connected to all of these different systems that make just kind of one giant system that is Earth. And you can see that water can move in between each of these spheres through many different processes. So here's kind of a little intro to the water cycle. I'm sure something that we've all heard of over and over again over time. Obviously, it can get a little bit more complicated. You can see how water moves into the atmosphere, how it cools and condenses and falls back to the Earth as precipitation, percolates into the ground, into the pedosphere, is incorporated into plants and into animals when they either take it up or drink it, and then also can be returned back to the atmosphere or back to the water. So all connected. And so speaking of this connection, we see that now with the impacts of climate change, one change in one part of the system can actually cause an effect in another part of the system. And as we said earlier, the hydrosphere has a great impact on Earth's climate. And so if the climate's being affected, that can also play a role in how the hydrosphere is affected. Without the large amount of water on Earth, it would be difficult for Earth to maintain the range of temperatures that have allowed life to exist as we know it. And what we are seeing is that average global temperatures increase. We see ocean temperatures are increasing, and that's having a big impact on life in the ocean and in all bodies of water. So we can kind of see that here. This graph is kind of showing how water temperature decreases with the addition of precipitation. And when there's no precipitation, you can see that the water temperature increases. So they have that indirect correlation. And so this is an image of Elkhorn Slough, which Peggy will be talking about later in the presentation. And so the changing precipitation patterns that we're seeing due to climate change is going to impact the temperatures of these bodies of water. It also impacts the concentration of dissolved substances that are within the water, and that can lead to a change in the pH, which are the two protocols we're going to be talking about today, pH and temperature. We also see that with more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, there's more carbon dioxide dissolved in bodies of water. When this happens, carbon dioxide actually undergoes a series of reactions that tend to lower the pH. So you can see in this graph that as carbon dioxide increases and as ocean carbon dioxide increases, we're seeing a decrease in that ocean pH. Other human impacts can affect the hydrosphere. We know burning of fossil fuels, such as coal especially, can put other pollutants into the atmosphere. Those dissolve within the precipitation, fall back to Earth and enter our waterways, which lowers the pH. Peggy talked about the acid rain affecting the water in Yosemite. And this is what is referred to as acid rain. As we mine for coal also, and some minerals, drainage from those mines carry acid. And that acid mine drainage can make its way into streams and impact the pH as well. So a lot of human impacts affecting the pH of our waterways. So we'll be looking at water temperature and water pH protocols today. And while those two protocols are fairly simple to conduct, they're important measures of the health of a body of water. And they can easily show change over time if done repeatedly, and can illustrate the impacts of human-caused and naturally caused changes occurring in an area. So you and your students can use these protocols to compare between different bodies of water, either within your local area or around the world. You connect with other Globe teachers, or you can also show just how one body of water changes throughout a year, or even several years if you have the ability to have your students year after year test these protocols. And that's kind of what Peggy and I did. So I have a video here. It's a little hard to hear. I apologize. I had kind of a one shot to video record this, so it's a little quiet, but I have some captions down below, so hopefully you can read along with it. But this is a little bit about choosing a hydrology study site. So this is the Kings River that Peggy and I have taken students to a few times. So.
Welcome to the Kings River. We're here just south of Kingsford, in the heart of the Central Valley of California. When you're choosing a site for your hydrology studies, you want to make sure that you choose a site that works for you and your students, is easily accessible, and has a large area to study, if at all possible. Here at the Kings River, this river is released only through dam release. So this river is only present for part of the year. Every waterway has its own story to tell. And through your observations, research, and investigations that you and your students perform, maybe you'll be able to tell the story of your water.
All right, so also you want to make sure that you're choosing a site that you have permission to be at, that you're not trespassing anywhere, and that it's safe for your students to be at. So it's always good to get a kind of look around, survey the area, and make sure that this is a good choice for you. So our first protocol, water temperature, we're not going to kind of discuss the full on details of doing the protocol. You can find that in the field guide that will be have available on the one pager. The temperature refers to the measurement of the average kinetic energy or energy of motion of all the molecules within a system. And as molecules have more energy, they tend to move around more, and that causes the temperature to increase. And then as they have less energy, they move around less, and then their temperature goes down. So when doing this protocol, you'll want to make sure that you're using a calibrated thermometer. We'll talk a little bit about calibration in a second. You can use a digital or an analog thermometer. You want to make sure that the bulb of the thermometer or the probe stays in the water for three full minutes before you take the first reading. And it's suggested to take it at a depth of about 10 centimeters. You want to make sure you're reading the measurement while it's actually in the water and you want to still hold it at eye level. So you're going to have to kind of get down, have your students get down and look at it. A lot of times they want to pull it out of the water and look at it, but you want to make sure you're reading it while it's in the water. You then want to leave it for an additional minute in order to verify that it hasn't changed that much within that minute. And you want to repeat these at least 2 more times with some new samples or just in different areas of the river so you can get a good average of that body of water. We know that calibration is important. They talked about that yesterday with the pedosphere, soil temperature and soil pH. And the same goes for your hydrology measurements. We calibrate our instruments in order to ensure accuracy in our data collection. And we want to immerse the thermometer to near the bottom of a beaker that is half filled with distilled water and half filled with ice made from distilled water. Wait about 3 minutes so that the temperature is stabilized. And we would say that it's calibrated when the thermometer reads at about plus or minus 0.5 Celsius. That will let us know that this is a calibrated thermometer. Another quick tip is to make sure that when you and your students take the temperature of your sample water, that you do so as one of the very first protocols completed. So you want to do this right away as soon as you get to your sample site. If you collect a sample of water, you want to take the temperature right away. So what does the temperature tell us? Well, temperature is very connected to dissolved oxygen. Dissolved oxygen, when the temperature is higher, the dissolved oxygen is less. When it's lower, dissolved oxygen is more. And that's important for aquatic organisms because they need oxygen just like we do, but oxygen is very limited in water. About 20% of our air is oxygen, but only a few parts per million is oxygen in water. So oxygen is vital for those living organisms. And so that's going to affect what living organisms are present in the water. Since all organisms have kind of a small tolerance range for temperature, they can only live in a water range that is within that temperature. So some organisms can handle a little warmer, some can handle a little cooler, but there is a range that they can handle in order to grow and survive and reproduce. And so that can also tell us a little bit about the water quality. So even the temperature can tell us a little bit about the quality of the water. And macroinvertebrates is another great protocol that you can use to kind of look at this. And certain macroinvertebrates can be present in warmer water where there's less oxygen. Some macroinvertebrates can be present in colder water where there's more oxygen. So it really can tell you a little bit about whether there's maybe some kind of pollutant present in the water. That is the reason why certain organisms are present over others. And then pH would be our second one. The second hydrosphere protocol we'll look into is water pH. The pH of the solution measures the hydrogen ion concentration within a sample. And the higher the concentration of hydrogen ions, we say the lower the pH or the more acidic. And the lower concentration of hydrogen ions, the higher the pH or the more alkaline or basic. You can see where seawater kind of sits right about here. Again, we want to make sure we're using a calibrated pH meter, or you can use fresh pH paper if you have access to that. If you are using a meter, you'll want to make sure that you're keeping the probe suspended in the sample water for at least 1 minute and kind of keep looking at it and make sure that it has stabilized. Sometimes it takes a while for those pH meters to stabilize. Once it has stabilized, you can read that pH reader. For pH paper, you want to make sure you're following the instructions that go along with your pH paper. For the protocol, you'll want to take at least 3 different readings with 3 different samples of water and then average those together. If all of your individual data points are within about 0.2 units of your average, then that's considered precise enough to use as a reading. It's important that you calibrate your meter before each time you go out to collect data. There should be instructions that go along with your pH meter on how to do this. One good thing about the pH protocol, if you can't take these probes out to your site, is that you can actually collect sample water and bring it back to your classroom in order to measure the pH if that's easier for you and your students. This way you can calibrate right before you take your measurements. Different waters can have different electrical conductivity readings, so it is important that you check the conductivity of your site because Globe actually has 2 different protocols depending on the conductivity. So you'll want to make sure that you read through that, and that is all available on our 1-pager as well. So pH will tell us a lot. Fresh water tends to have a pH range of about 6.5 to 8.5. Whereas oceans tend to be more stable because of high buffering. So they tend to hang around 8.2. So if there's changes in that pH for the ocean, that's a pretty dramatic change because that buffering should usually stabilize it. So the fact that we're seeing, moving to a more acidic range is alarming. Living organisms can only tolerate a certain range of pH, just like with temperature, and most cannot live in water that's below 4 or above 10 on the pH scale. And so this can also indicate issues with water quality. Pollutants that get into the water can affect the pH, but also naturally occurring compounds can affect waters in different areas. So you might have different pHs in your waterway just because of some other naturally occurring substances that may be close by. I have another quick video to introduce the water walk activity. This one's a little bit easier to hear, so hopefully it's
One of the best ways to get students to make really detailed observations is to take them out to the site itself. So consider taking a field trip to your site before doing any studies. Here, they can make observations of the types of plants that they see, any organisms that they might see out here, any wildlife that might appear. They can also make observations of what it feels like, what it looks like, what it smells like. Ask them questions. Where do they think this water comes from? How often does this water flow? They may already know a lot of the answers to your questions, just because a lot of these students, at least my students, participate in this river, they play in this river, they live near this river. So all of these observations can then hopefully help lead to some questions that you can then investigate using the protocols from Globe.
So the water walk activity is a great introduction activity for your Hydrosphere site. So once you kind of choose the site you want to take your students to, take them out there if you can. That would be the best way. I mean, you could take pictures, you could show them satellite images, but it's really great to get them out there if you can. And what's great about this activity is it can be as simple or as advanced as you want. It works for elementary through high school, and it helps students to kind of connect. They can see that the water, is involved with the soil and the atmosphere and the trees and the animals and everything that's right there. So that connection can kind of be discussed. And it can easily branch out. You can take these simple water protocols, temperature and pH, and connect them to many, many different protocol bundles available with Globe that Peggy will be talking about. And this is going to help students to develop those investigative questions. They start to ask questions when they're out there. So maybe you lead a few questions, but then it gets them asking more questions. And they can start to research a little bit about it and learn more about that water, and then therefore start asking some investigative questions that they can study. For elementary, I would highly recommend the Discoveries at Willow Creek ebook. It's available as an ebook or PDF on the Globe site. You can also print out a copy. We'll have access to this also on the one-pager. It gives a great overview of the water walk activity so that the students can kind of get an idea of what they should be looking for and what they might see when they go out to their waterway. And it's a great way to show how to kind of extend it over the long term. So here's a couple of screen caps from that book. So you can see how, the river changes from fall to spring. They make these observations in fall, then they come out and they're like, oh my gosh, this looks completely different than it did in fall. Now it's in spring, there's more water, the trees are greener. So it's a great way to kind of segue into that. And then revisiting a site is obviously going to allow students to see some phenological changes in the land cover. You can see differences in the water quality, differences in types of macroinvertebrates that are present, tree heights, fullness of the trees. So this shows two images of the same pond at Elkhorn Slough. And you can see here all the green versus kind of the brown grass. You can see it's much sunnier versus much more foggy and cloudy. So students can make these observations throughout the year if they keep going out. And so we encourage you to take them out multiple times if that's possible. Once you have your site and you've had them go out there, you will want to document and map your site. You'll fill out the site definition sheet and conduct the Hydrosphere site mapping. You can do this with your students or you can do it yourself and show your students. And again, this is all linked on the one pager, so you can have access to that. So here's kind of an example of the site definition sheet that you can fill out. I suggest taking pictures, have your students take pictures, maybe have them on a collaborative Google document or something where they can share all of their pictures if they have access to that. When you're mapping your site, you'll want to map out an area of the bank that's about 50 meters in length. I know that's not always possible, so just as long as you can get it. And then you can set up these flags or markers every 3 meters. And when you see the mapping tool on the Globe website, each square represents those 3 meter sections. So they can come up with their key, or you can design a key so they can show where the trees are, they can show where the water line is, what the bank looks like. They can write in their journals about what they saw, what they observed, so that when they come back again, they have something to compare it to. And obviously pictures will help with that as well. So when you get your data, when you start collecting your data, you'll want to post it to Globe. And there's a couple of ways to do that. There's kind of the old school way that we just found out was old school, adding site info to Globe through the data entry system on the Globe website. You can see here we have several different sites and several different protocols that we measure at those sites. And what's nice about the Globe website is you can kind of see everything at once and get to everything right away, which is nice, but brand new. The Globe Observer app has just added Hydrosphere. So you can actually enter not only your site information straight from the Globe Observer app, but also all of your data. So you can enter your pH measurements, you can enter your temperature measurements, you can add your metadata, your comments and everything right from the Globe Observer app. So I'm really excited about this. We found out about this on Monday. So we've been working on this project for a long time. And then boom, oh, something very important we have to make sure we mention. So I'm really excited to use this. I think this will make it much more user-friendly to enter data and enter site information. So highly recommend downloading the Globe Observer app and taking a look through it. I've been using the cloud tool quite a bit lately, trying to get those satellite measurements in. We can get to that 1 million. And then as you advance in Globe, maybe if your students are a little higher level, students can predict kind of where the water in a site comes from, where it passes through, what kind of land cover it passes through, how that might affect the quality. And after mapping the site, they can research these back in the classroom. So I would highly recommend using Google Earth. So I'm going to zoom in here. So this shows California. I'm right here. That yellow dot right there is Kingsburg. You can see San Francisco up over here. This is Monterey Bay, where Peggy's at. Down here is Los Angeles. Up here is Yosemite, and Mona Lake is right here, this big dark spot right here, where Peggy and I used to do some studies. And so if we zoom in here to Kingsburg, you're going to see the Kings River where I was at in the videos, and what's behind me in my picture, if you can see that. And so what we see here is the Kings River image is very dry. Oops. You can see that the Kings River is very dry. This must have been probably at the end of May when they had just released water into the river. But you also notice that around the river, right in Kingsburg where I live, there's a lot of agricultural land, and that's going to affect what gets into the river, the runoff that gets into the river. So here's Kingsburg High School where I taught or I teach and where Peggy used to teach. So where does this water come from? So we can see the river kind of extending through here. So we're going to zoom up to the mountains. You can see it kind of winding all the way up, all the green, you can kind of follow it all the way up. And here is Pine Flat Dam. So this water is released through dam release. The water comes from snowmelt in the Sierra Nevada mountains on the western side of the United States. And so I'm going to zoom out here. So here's the lake. And then way up here is our large mountain range, the Sierra Nevadas, where all of that snow, as it collects, hopefully, over the course of winter, it all melts during spring and collects in that Pine Flat Dam, where it will then be released to us. All right, so I will let Peggy take over at this point. Let me stop sharing.
Okay. And I will share my screen. And continue on. All right. So this is an image of using Wiki Watershed. It's a great app. Here's Pine Flat Dam. Here's Kingsburg. And this is an overlay of land cover. And you can see that this color is cultivated crops. And she was just mentioning how her students probably should be aware and maybe study nitrates and dissolved oxygen to see how agriculture is impacting her body of water. But now we get to the GLOBE protocol bundles. So what are GLOBE protocol bundles? Well, the Earth is a dynamic and interconnected ecosystem with numerous processes that both influence and depend on one another. For example, the water composition of a lake may depend on the soil surrounding it, as well as the type of land cover holding that soil in place. Because of this interdependency, researchers often need to look beyond one particular Earth sphere and account for how the processes they are studying rely on the Earth as a system. To reflect this multidisciplinary approach, GLOBE has built protocol bundles focused for student research. And within each bundle, you can find an introduction, summary, the protocols used, and relevant scientific background, like GLOBE is so good at, is providing background for the teacher, student research questions as well, and one case study. And these are the bundles listed that include water temperature and water pH, which were the two protocols that we've been working with. So here we have the agriculture bundle, and how land is used agriculturally is based on the climate conditions, the type of crop being grown, the scale of cultivation, farming intensity, mechanization, and much more. So these protocols in each of the four spheres are recommended in the agriculture bundle. And obviously, a lot of them are soils and water. Here are some, well, before you take measurements, you should probably focus on what question you want to have your students answer, or they can design a question to answer. But here's some examples. What are the impacts of fertilizers or pesticides on water body characteristics like pH, electrical conductivity, temperature? How is runoff from nearby agricultural fields affecting your chosen hydrosphere site? What's the relationship between the soil's characteristics and the characteristics of your hydrosphere site? And here's another bundle, the River and Lakes bundle. As Leanne indicated, fresh water is limited. Rivers and lakes in particular store and clean the water that's crucial for human activities and wildlife. And here we see the bundles that relate to that Rivers and Lakes bundle. And a couple questions that your students might investigate. How does the source of the water, including the land cover around your river and or lake, affect it? Is dissolved oxygen too low for life since it's a limiting factor? Can you recognize any indications of pollution visually? What are the pollution sources to your rivers and or lakes? So now we're going to be looking again at this Google Earth, and we're in Kingsburg, and I retired and I moved over to the coast of California. And we find, this is my site now. All right, so here's our reserve. And here we have a picture looking this direction. And here's that pond. And here in the image on Google Earth, it's dried up. So that's an even different season than what we were looking at before. And so we're an estuarine research reserve. And so there's an estuary around. And so you'll be seeing the estuary right
Yes,
here.
almost three times more than Kentucky.
And an estuary connects to salt water. And so here we have the Pacific Ocean and the artificial entry of water. They made a harbor here and created the flow of the estuary as it is today. So our site is 3 miles from the estuary. And we have 3 types of water. We've got, back again. We've got fresh water, estuary brackish water, and ocean water. So we have a lot of possibilities of places that we can have our students study. And Wiki Watershed, again, anywhere in the United States, it will show you your watershed at different levels. And here's where our reserve is. And the land cover that impacts our site here. And you can see there's not as much agriculture. Agriculture is golden brown, but there is a lot north of us. So we mostly have oak woodlands impacting our site. But here you can see that there's a farm above the estuary. And this is right across the street from our visitor center. It's a huge farm. So its runoff comes down through our habitats. Luckily, they're pretty natural. So the soils and the plants can take up a lot of the pesticides and fertilizer. But the students are studying and have found out that nitrates and nitrates are high and dissolved oxygen low at certain times of the year. So yes, our land cover can help, but we need good farming practices as well. And here we are with the Globe Observer app again, and it has a mosquito habitat mapper that allows citizen scientists to ID the larvae of the local mosquitoes. On the right is some data we collected at Elkhorn Slough And what we found out as we were doing a land cover biometry study in the forest with some students, we were doing canopy cover, ground cover, they were getting bitten by mosquitoes. So we looked around and we found this trough, this water trough. We have several water troughs for our wildlife because they can't drink estuary water, it's brackish. Well, there was mosquito larvae in this, what we call a guzzler. And we looked at the larva, and you can see the life cycle here of the mosquito. And of course, it's the female that bites, and that's the one we need to take care of. And so here we have a mosquito bundle, and the mosquito bundle involves a lot of protocols. And one that's really important is rainfall. Turns out it was at the end of April when we were found the mosquitoes, and it was right when at the end of our rainy season. And so this is a climatogram showing air temperatures and average rainfall through the year. So it's not surprising that we found the larva at that time because it requires extra fresh water. And here's a disease danger day graph, and it spikes in 2017. We have more danger days that year than ever before, and that was a year of extremely high rainfall. So we had Aedes aegypti, and which can transmit disease. So by beginning our investigation of the hydrosphere with water temperature and water pH, you can see how these link to weather patterns, which is atmosphere, like that provided by the mosquito habitat. Seasonal changes, and you're going to see, hopefully, green up and green down soon. Like in the 2 season studies on the field trips in the book Discoveries at Willow Creek and at the pond Elkhorn Slough, where our students study through the year. In fact, right now, the pH of our pond is 9, and everybody's wondering why our endangered species can't reproduce there, salamanders. 1 or more GLOBE protocol bundles can provide your student studies of a more complete picture of the Earth. And again, having the bundles together doesn't require the teacher to figure out what's the best way to study a site. And so I think they're a great way to go and a lot of good background. So thank you for joining us for this Hydrosphere protocol session. GLOBE has many resources to prepare you to guide the students to monitor and investigate their environment. Our one-pager has a lot of links that will help you out. What they discover may lead to action projects in their communities. And we hope you stay tuned to the next protocol session coming right up after the break, Green Up and Green Down. If you have any questions that you want to ask us, we don't have time now, but there is a session tomorrow, and hopefully you'll come to that. Also, we have our email addresses down there at the bottom. And thank you for your time, and we hope to see you and hear about some of your questions tomorrow. So thank you very much.
All right, and go ahead and take it away. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Amy. I'm waiting for Nahid. Nahid, are you here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nahid Azlouni. I'm a GLOBE mentor trainer. I wanted to introduce Reem Dahnous. She's the science coordinator at Ashuf International School here in Jordan. We're both from Jordan, and we work under the Near East and North Africa region for GLOBE. Reem is going to introduce Green Up and Green-Down, and go ahead.
Okay, so let's start. As Nahid told you that I am a teacher, a trainer, and also practitioner for more than 14 years. And I am interested for new learning and observation to benefit the environment. So let's start with the outline for my presentation here. Okay, here is the topics that I'm going to describe it during my presentation. I'm going to start with Earth as system bundles and why we take a green up and green down measurement. Also, I'm going to talk about how we take the measurement for both green up and green down, as choosing the site, as also the protocol instrument, and taking the measurement for both of green up and green down. Here is the objectives that I'm going to describe it during my presentation. I'm going to talk about the phenology and what it's meant for the tree, of course, because I'm talking about green up and green down. Also, I'm going to describe the importance of quality control steps for collection accurate data. I'm going to describe why green up data is important for understanding our changing Earth system. And also, I'm going to identify a shrub green up study site and conduct measurement in the field. Before moving in more details about my presentation, I'm going to start with our story for my team. My philosophy in my life as a science teacher, that diligent, motivated students who are responsible for their own learning will become an autonomous thinker, also a discerning moral agent and engaged citizen. So according to that, I'm trying to help my students to help the environment and to take care about the planet Earth. So I'm going to start with my team story. So here it is.
Do you have sound for this video?
Reem, it looks like we're not hearing sound from the video. When you share your screen, make sure you're also sharing your audio.
Okay, I'm going to check it again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. So I'm going to repeat the video. Okay, so here is the video again.
For as long as I can remember, trees have coaxed me to their branches in the same way that tempts a moth near on a dark night. My mommy told me that even before I learned to walk, I pushed away from the safety of her arms and crawled alone to the great encino tree near our thatched roof home. I sat beneath the tree and gazed up at the branches as if their leaves had called to me.
I was already really excited when I heard about this project, but when I found out that this could actually help the Earth, I really wanted to join, and I thought it would be really fun since other students are joining too. And not only that, I thought I could gain some information and expand my knowledge about this topic, so maybe, hopefully in the future, I could improve our world through invention and design.
Why do I want to join? I want to join because it's an amazing experience and a new opportunity. And once I saw the tools, I got so excited that I really wanted to learn how to use them. And I really want to help save Earth from climate change and pollution.
I want to join to try out new things.
This project is very interesting and it's once in a lifetime experience. I got the opportunity to meaningfully contribute to my understanding of the Earth system and global environment.
I'm interested in this hands-on approach to this scientific method. I'm happy to help develop our scientific community. All our lesson objectives are scientifically verified. We also work with GLOBE to build a collaborative worldwide community of students. This is why I'd like to join.
As an international science and education program, I found that the GLOBE is dedicated to supplying STEM professionals of tomorrow with the scientific knowledge, so I would like to be part of the team.
So we are so happy to be part of a GLOBE program. It is really help us to connect the science with the real life. So I'm going to start with the connection between the spheres on our planet Earth. As you know, we have biosphere, pedosphere, hydrosphere, atmosphere, and lithosphere. So because I'm going to talk about green up and green down, so I'm going to talk about the connection between the biosphere and the other spheres. As you know, plants need the carbon dioxide to make their own food by the process of photosynthesis. So we have connection between the atmosphere and the biosphere. The plant can take the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere to make their own food. And I'm going to talk about the carbon cycle in more details. In the same time, also in the process of photosynthesis, the plant need water to make also the food by the process of photosynthesis. So this is another connection between the hydrosphere and biosphere. In the same time, also, there is connection between biosphere and pedosphere that the plant need nutrients, need phosphorus, need nitrogen after the nitrogen fixation in the soil. So that means there is interaction between the pedosphere and the biosphere. Now let's take a look here for the biogeochemical cycle, which is the cycle that connect all of the spheres together. From its name, bio mean life, geo mean the pedosphere or the earth, and chemical mean the substance that react with the other substance. So according to that, the biogeochemical cycle, it's a clear connection between all of the earth systems. According to that, there will be transferring for the matter, transferring for the energy. The most clear and important cycle that we focus on it, which is the carbon cycle, because the plant need it, and the other organism, because as you know, all living things contain carbon molecule. Now, how the plant get the carbon? By taking the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. As I told you, this is the connection between atmosphere and biosphere. So by the stomata in the leaves, the plant can take the carbon dioxide to make their own food. In the same time, once the animals eat the plant, that means also the animal can take enough amount of the carbon in their body. In the same time, after the animals, they have the cellular respiration. So again, the carbon dioxide go back to the atmosphere. On the other hand, once the organism die, that means they return back to the pedosphere. How? By decomposer. The decomposer decayed the dead body and returned it back to the earth, or let's say to the pedosphere, as fossil fuels. So this is the interaction between the biosphere and the pedosphere. During the long time, once it's changed to be fossil fuels, human being using the fossil fuels in their factory and again producing the CO2 to the atmosphere. So this is a clear connection for the carbon cycle between all of the Earth spheres. Another cycle that shows us the connection, which is the phosphorus cycle. As you know, phosphate, you can find it in the soil. So by weathering and erosion, the soil here transfer from one region to another, mixed with the water, forming phosphate solution. The plant absorbed this solution from the water and also grow up, and according to the animals that eating this plant, and once both of them die, the decomposer decayed the dead body and returned the phosphate back. So here it is the steps of the phosphorus cycle. The phosphate found in rocks, by weathering, erosion, it's changed to be soil and mixed with the water, forming the solution of the phosphate, and the plant absorbed this phosphate, and once it's died, the decomposer returned the phosphate or the phosphorus to the soil. So this is another connection between the Earth spheres. In this diagram, you can see the result of the over-harvesting in our planet Earth. Also, as you can see, the factories we have a lot of factories in our environment that using the fossil fuel and producing high amount of the carbon dioxide. So according to that, we have increasing in the carbon dioxide and decrease in the plant that we can say it is the lungs of the environment that clean up from the carbon dioxide. And as you know, the carbon dioxide, it is one of the greenhouse gases that trap the heat, and let's say it has a big hand in the change or the climate change in our environment. So in this image, we can see that the green cover decrease, and in the same time, the pollution and amount of carbon dioxide increase in our atmosphere. According to that, we have to study amount of carbon in our environment. How? By studying the phenology. What is the phenology? It is a way or a study to study living thing response to the change in the season or seasonal change, and also the climate change. You can study phenology for both plants and animals, but as we talk here about green up and green down, so I'm going to focus only on the plant phenophase. So as you know, during the spring, the plants start to grow up, the buds start to produce the leaves, start to produce the flower during the spring, and during summer, the flower change to be a fruit. During autumn, it's start to change its color and the leaf fall. And this is the general idea about the green up and green down, which is response, plant response to the environment and climate change. Again, why we need to collect the carbon data? For three important reasons. As I told you before, that carbon, it is one of the greenhouse gases that trapping the heat. So it is very important to study amount of carbon or the carbon cycle, which is regulate the earth climate. Also, it is central for the normal function of ecological system. As we described before also, that both plants and animals, they have carbon molecules. So it is very important to study it as functional ecological system. Also, it's very important to measuring the biomass of the plant, as the plant using the carbon in the process of photosynthesis and store the carbon in its part. So it is help us to study the biomass of the plant. Now, what influences plant growth and dormancy? We have three important factors that all of the plants needed, but of course needed in different amount according to the place that the plant grows in it, and according to type of plant. Number one, temperature. Number two, amount of rainfall. Number three, sunlight. And needed for these climate feature, it's depend on types of the plant. Now, what do plants need to grow? There is 5 important factors that affect on the plant to grow. Proper temperature for the plant, which is depend on the type of the plant, where it's live. Some of the plants live in desert, other plants live in rainforest. So temperature, it will be different from one plant to another. Air, which is contain carbon dioxide, which is important for the process of photosynthesis, and of course oxygen, which is important for cellular respiration, and of course nutrient, and sunlight and moisture. These 5 important factors, if one of them missing or some of them missing, that mean this is limit the plant growth, or maybe the plant will die if it's not appear in the environment. So we have to take care for the plant, to take care for the environment of the plant, that all of these features, we can find it in the environment. Now, what about change in the plant once we observe it? We have 2 ways for change in the plant during the seasons. The first one, when the trees lose their leaf, and we called it green down. The other one, when the plant sprout for new growth, and in this case, we called it green up. Now, for plant green up, to start studying the plant green up, the plant should break the dormancy. What do you mean by breaking the dormancy? All of the plant, once it start to grow, it's start from the bud. And later I'm going to describe it in more details with the figures. So once the buds, let's say, burst or swollen, the bud burst, that means in this case, it's broken the dormancy. What are the factors that help to break down this dormancy? Longer hour of sunlight. That means once start with the spring season. That means this factor, the daylight will be more, the hours of the sunlight will be more, and according to that, it will break the dormancy. The other factor, it is a higher temperature for some region, which is important for some plants that live in that region. Another factor for the plant that grow in desert or cold region, they need rains and they need cooler temperature to grow up or to break down the dormancy. Here in this image, we can see the steps of starting from bud burst and end with the leaf falling down. So in step number 1, which is started during the spring, the bud burst and the leaf start to appear. As you can see here, this is occurred during spring, and at the end of the spring and during summer, the leaves start to grow up and expand in its size. At the end of summer or at the beginning of fall, let's say, the leaves start to change its color, and during fall, the leaves start to drop down. So point 1, 2, and 3 describe the green up, while point 4 and 5 describe the green down. Why do we need to collect green up data? We have 4 important points we needed to collect these data. First of all, as you can see, we have climate change and we have change in the season, the daytime hours. We have also change in the temperature, increasing in the temperature. So it's very important to calculate growing season length and monitor inter-annual changes in growing season duration. Also, the factors that affect plant growth. So we have to determine how environmental conditions such as air, soil temperature, precipitation, soil moisture, and day length affect plant growth. Also, as you know, during this year and even the previous years, we heard a lot about fire in the forest. So taking the reading of the green-up data help us to know the susceptibility to fire for the grassland or even the forest. And at the end here, we have to monitor the nature and extent of the climate change and its effect on plant and animals. In this diagram, you can see the vegetation or vegetation map. This vegetation map shows us the green cover for some region and that it has a lot of plants, let's say, and high green cover. And in another region, you can see that there is no enough green cover. And as you can see, it has the yellow color here. So for vegetation here, it is the greenness, which is important for us to indicate if there is a good green cover, if there is forest or grassland in that region. Now, what are the factors that help you to, or let's say vegetation index depend on what factors? We have 3 important factors that the vegetation index depend on it. Number 1, number and type of a plant, how much the plants that cover that region, and what type of a plant, which is related to how leafy they are. Some plants, they have too much leaves. Some plants, they have wide leaves. Other, they have thin leaves. They don't have enough or too much leaves, the same as the other plants. And at the end, how healthy they are, how much they are green, if there is disease that affect on that plant or not. So we have to focus on these important 3 points to study the vegetation index. Now, for mapping vegetation, which is a key part for studying the carbon cycle, we start to collect the data. How? By using the satellites. The satellite observe global scale patterns and let's say patterns of vegetation. And this information, the scientists, they study it to study change in the plant growth. And they analyze these data. According to the analyzing of these data, they found the result of the climate and environmental change, which is at the end, it is the human activities. Another point that photosynthesis is very important because it plays a big role in removing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. So we have if we want to fix or to find a solution for climate change, we can increase the green cover in our environment because the photosynthesis, as I told you, it's play a big role in decrease the amount of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere because the plant storing it in wood or even storing it in the soil. Also, farmers and resource managers, they need to use the information from the satellite. So also they use the satellite-based vegetation map to help them monitor the health and of our forest and crop plant. Okay. Again, here we have the vegetation map, and this is the index of the vegetation map. For green cover here, we need these three important factors: the number and types of plant, how healthy they are, and how leafy they are. To read the map, as you can see here, we have some yellow region, some green region, or even sometimes it is tan region. So if the region is yellow or tan, that means there is few plants that grow in that region. So according to that, the key for the map, it has the tan or yellow color. While if it's dark blue or even green or dark green, that means this is where foliage is dense and the plant growing quickly in that region. Okay, what about the measurement taken? The measurement that you have to take it for the vegetation index, you need to take it from large homogeneous land cover type. And you have to accept three regions. You have not to take the reading from it, which is man-made modification or urban region, because the people they cut. Okay, the people they over harvesting the plant, so we cannot take the reading from that region. Also, a region that it has flood or that there is flooding in that region, that means destroy all of the green cover, so we cannot take any reading from it. And the last point, which is forest that burning, or the region which has fire, so we cannot take the reading from that region. This is my country, Jordan. We are from the Middle East. And as you can see in the previous map about the Middle East, mostly all of the Middle East region, and even my country, Jordan, we don't have enough green cover. As you can see, most of the region, it is dry land, and it is about 77.9 dry land, while for the forest or the green cover, it is around 0.89. And of course, it's changed. Before 40 years or even 60 years, this land was covered by the green cover, but not as today because of the change in the climate, increasing in the temperature. This is lead to increase in the dry lands in our environment. And according to that, our Queen Rania Abdullah, our leader in our country, also she is taking care for our country, and she is leading all of the citizen, the leader, to take care for the green cover, to take care for the natural habitat and biodiversity, which is we have to increase the awareness of Jordan flora and its global significance. Now, once we join the GLOBE program, according to protocol Green-Up and Green-Down, the first point that they focus on it, which is a very important point, that we have to choose national tree. Our national tree, it is the oak tree. So the first step to start with the Green-Up and Green-Down protocol, you have to choose your country national tree, and our country national tree, it is oak tree. As you can see here, it is this document, it is from Royal Botanic Garden. The second step, once you choose your national tree, you have to focus that it is deciduous plant. And here from the Royal Botanic Garden, this is a proof that our national tree, the oak tree, it is deciduous tree, as you can see here. So this is from the Jordan Botanic Garden. Another proof here, we have a year in the life of the oak tree that show us that it is deciduous tree. So let's take a look for this video. So this is the first step to start the protocol of the Green-Up and Green-Down. You have to choose your national deciduous tree. Now, for the measurement of the living thing, it is very important for all of the scientists, and especially for the plant, it helps us to know the amount of the nutrients, amount of carbon, and for the plant, especially the usable water that's stored in tree and the plants. After you choose the tree, you have to find your site. How to find your site? At the center here, you have your own center, which is your school or your institution. Now, once you're at the center, it is your school or your institution, the area that's surrounding it, which is 90 meter times 90 meter, it is the area that you can take the reading or the data for the plants that you can find it in that region. So this is the first step, which is define your site. How to define the site? First of all, you have to locate your site. You have two ways to locate the site: the ground, which is by yourself, your eyes, and the other one, it is by the satellite image. Now here, the satellite image, that means you have to use the GPS. And to use the GPS, you have to be careful that the distance between the trees, it is 3 meters. This is very important. Once you choose the site, you have to check that the trees, the distance between them, it is 3 meters. Now, the first way to find your site or to define your site, it is topographic, which is, let's say, elevation is measured by or in reference to the geoid. What is the geoid? It is the hypothetical shape of the earth, which is coinciding with mean sea level, while for the GPS, it is measures elevation in reference to the ellipsoid, which is three-dimensional figure whose plan section are ellipses. So this is the second way to define your site. So this is the site that we choose it with my students. And the first thing that we did, as I told you, we find it and we use the meter to measure the distance between the trees. Here, as you can see, it is 3 meters. Then you have to use densiometer. It's easy to make your own densiometer, and you have to look through it up. Once you look through it, you have to find if it's covered by the plant or if there is no plants that cover that region, only you can see the sky and the cloud. This is an image from our work in our site. The first image, as you can see, once we look through the densiometer, there is no green cover here. It is, let's say, 0. And here we have a little bit of the green cover. Once you take the first observation through the densiometer, then you have to move 2 steps, then to take the second time to see through it. Then you have to move another 2 steps and take a look through the densiometer. And as you can see here, it is full cover for the green covering here through the densiometer. Okay. Also, you have to, let's say, measure the circumferences of the plant by using the measuring tape. This is another step that you have to do it. Another thing that you have to do it is to measure the height of the tree. How to measure the height of the tree? By using the clinometer. How to use the clinometer? We have many steps. I'm gonna move with these steps with you in more details. So let's start with the first step. In the first step, you have to use the clinometer. You have to start from the tree and you have to move away from the tree until you reach 45 degrees on the clinometer, and you see at the same time the top of the tree. Once it is 45 degrees and you can see the top of the tree, you have to stop at this point. So from our side, we choose the tree. We keep moving back until we reach the 45 degrees here, as you can see. And in the same time, once we reach this 45 degrees, in the same time, we can see the top of the tree. By the way, to make your own clinometer, it's so easy. You can use the straw, you can use thread, you can use printed out from the internet, and you can make your own clinometer. It is so easy to do it. After that, once you stop, what you have to do, the other friend, they have to help you. They have to use the measuring tape from the base of the tree, keep moving until they reach your toes. Then you have to step on the measuring tape, and you have, or your friend have to complete the measuring tape to your eyes beside the straw, which is your vision through the. So once you reach your eyes, you have to stop, and then you have to take the reading. Here in our site, we start from the base, we reach here, this point, step up on it, and then we complete to the eye of this students, and we read how much the number of the tape here. It is 11.25, which is describe the height of the tree. So to measure height of the tree, you have to use the clinometer. Once you have the height of the tree, you have to record it, of course, on the site definition. And it's better, all of us, we know the scientific method that we have to repeat the steps many times to find the accurate measurement. And of course, you have to use the GPS protocol to determine the average latitude and longitudinal base for each tree measured. Here it is the site definition. You have to fill your information, and according to the site type, you have to check which type is your site. After you find your site, what you have to do, or define your site, you have to complete with cover type. You have to know what is the cover type, and you have also to describe what type of a plant you have. So we have something called mock field guide, which is helping you to describe in a clear way your site. So you have to move through it step by step by answering questions. So here it is the begin of the mock. The first question they asking you, is the site developed? It's depend to your site that you choose it. So if it's yes, so that means you have to go to developed here. If it's no, that means it's natural. You have to go to other page. Now, because my site, it is developed, so I'm gonna move through this point. So because it is developed, I have to find which of the following two choice. Is it cultivated land or urban? Best describe your site, and the best describe my site, it is cultivated land. And according to that, I have to go to cultivated land here and read this information. If yes, I have to go to the other page until I reach my page that define my site. It is correct. My site, it is cultivated land, no agriculture. It is park and athletic field, which is correct. We choose in my country, we have some region called an area called Al Hussein Park. So we use it to take the data or to record the data from that region. So we've done with the mock to define our site. And according to that, you have to go back to the site definition to fill the information in it. And this is our plant or national tree in Jordan that we use it, which is the oak tree. Now, to start to record the data in a Green-Up sheet, of course, you have to fill your school information, observer name, your information, and your students' information. Then, as you can see here in the table, you have the date and the day. So once you go to the site, you have to check the day and month. Then you have to choose different leaves to take the data for it. So we have leaf 1, leaf 2, leaf 3, and 4. And here the information, you have to record it according to your observation. If the bud it is dormant, or swelling, or bud burst, or leaf length. And I'm going to talk about these information in more details now. This is also the page that you can find the Green-Up data sheet. Once you click here, this is can lead you to this page. Now, in the field, for the first time, you have to find your tree that you are going to record the data from it. You have to also choose your branch that you will take the data from it, and the buds or the leaves that you are going to also record the data from it. So at the beginning, it's buds, so you have to choose the bud. So here it is bud number 1. By using the marker, you have to mark it by 1 dot. For bud number 2, you have to mark it as 2 dots. For bud number 3, you have to mark it as 3 dots. And in the same time, you have to take photograph. You have to take photograph from the center of your site. You have to look for all of the directions, south, east, north, west, and take a photo for them. Now, every visit, we choose 3 buds. And according to my observation, I have to record my data. If the bud it's still the same, that means it is dormant bud. It is closed and still small. While if the bud its size increase, that means swelling, I have to record swelling. So if it's dormant or small size, still closed, I have to record it in the Green-Up sheet as dormant. If it's swelling, that means I have to record it as swelling buds. While if the bud burst and the leaves start to grow, so that means you have to record it as bud burst. If the leaf appear and start to grow, you have to start to measure the size of the leaf. What about if we lost the bud or we lost the leaf? You have to record that I lost the leaf or I lost the bud, so you cannot take any data for that lost bud or leaf. Here, this is a clear image that show you the dormant bud. Here, swelling bud, increasing in the size of the bud. Here, bud burst, the bud start to grow up and to produce the leaves. Here, you can see the growing of the leaf and change the size of the leaf. In this video, you can see the steps of growing of the bud, start from dormant, then grow up to be swelling, then to bud burst, and to produce the leaf. Let's take a look here for this video. Okay. Now, once the leaves start to grow, how we can measure the leaf size? It is very important to be very accurate and to start from the end of the leaf here. Start from the end of the leaf here to the top of the leaf. You have not to include the stem of the leaf. It's very important, only the leaf. So here from the end of the leaves, from the end of the leaves to the top of the leaves, you have to take the measurement of the length of the leaves. Now, Also, if the leaves stop growing, you have to record that there is no new change in the length of the leaves, and that means the leaves stop growing. So you have to record it as a data stop growing of the leaves. Now, here you can see from our side, we choose this branch to record the data from it. And here the steps of measuring the size of the leaves. Here we start from 2 or 2.5. Then the leaves grow up to be 4. As you can see, as you can see, as you can excuse me. Okay, as you can see, we start from the top of the leaf to the end of the leaf. I did not include the stem of the leaf. So here it's a start from, let's say 2.5, then it's grow up to be 4, then as you can see here 6 and 8. So this is a clear data that the leaf change its size. Now, what about green down? To study green down, it is related to change of the color of the leaf. As you know, the leaf, it has the green color. Why it has the green color? Because of the chlorophyll. Chlorophyll, it's the green pigment in the leaf and in the plant that help the plant to make its own food by the process of photosynthesis. So because of the chlorophyll, it's give the plant its green color, and it is covered the other colors in the leaf or the other pigment. There is other pigment in the leaves that give it the leaves other colors like red, orange, yellow. But because of amount of the chlorophyll in the leaves, it's too much, so it will cover all of the other pigment and only the green cover will appear. So during summer, during spring and summer, because the hour of the daylight, it's too much or long daytime, so that mean amount of chlorophyll will be too much, and the color of the green, the color of the leaf will be green. While at the end of summer, beginning of the autumn, during autumn, the color of the leaf start to change. Why? Because of increasing of amount of the chlorophyll in the leaves, and according to that, the other colors will appear in the leaf. So here, as you can see, during spring and summer, it is green. And once we move to the end of the summer, beginning of the fall, the color change, the yellow pigment start to appear, orange pigment, red pigment start to appear. And according to that, we start with the green down protocol here. Now, the change of the color here, we have, as I told you, orange, red, and yellow color. This is because of two types of pigment, carotenoid and anthocyanin. Once the green pigment decrease in amount of it, and the keratin start to increase or appear, so that means it will absorb the blue and the green color and reflect only the yellow and the red. And according to that, the orange color will appear. For the red color, it is the anthocyanin pigment that show us or provide the plant with beautiful red leaf colors. For the flavanol, help to the leaves to appear as yellow color, the same as the egg yolk. So what we have to do for the green down protocol, you have to use something called Globe Plant Color Guide. This will help you to record the code of the plant, the code of the color according to use the color guide. So here for each observation, what the students, they have to do, they have to record the color of the leaf by using the Globe Plant Color Guide, and the leaf once the leaf has fallen or covered by snow, you have not to take any reading. You have to write the note that the leaf is falling down or even covered with the snow. So this is, in this image, you can see the globe plant color. As you can see, we have all of the colors of the leaves during spring, during summer, fall. And according to that, if we focus on each block for the color, you can see at the end here, code. For example, here it is green, but it is dark green. So what is the code of it? It is 5GY4. 48. So on the data sheet of the green down, you have not to write the color as green, because look here, we have green as dark green, and here we have medium light green, here we have light green. So it's very hard to write green, dark green, light green. It's better to use the globe plant color guide to write the code for each color. As you can see also here, for the other colors, the brown, the purple, also we have code. On the other hand, here in this link, you can see the world. Okay, here it is. Is it clear? You can see it? Okay, here is the map of the whole world that show us the change of the color of the leaf. For example, here, if I change it to be in August, you will observe that the whole world, or most of the countries, they have Green-Up data. While if we change it, for example, to be in October.
C'est bon, tout est OK?
In October or November, you can see that the color of the leaves change. So according to that, you can use this map to record your data. Okay. Now here in our site, we used the globe color guide. So we compared the color of the oak leaves with the guide. And according to that, we use the code for each color. And we have to record it here on the green down the data sheet. Here in this video, you can see a summary for all of the information for all of the steps for green up and green down data. So let's take a look here for this video. Okay, now let's go to the other point. Why do leaves fall? It is very important for the deciduous plant for the leaves to fall. Why? Because it is protect the plant. So it is a must for the plant to lose, or for the deciduous plant to lose its leaf, because it's protect. How? Or first, before we start to talk about how it's losing or why it's important to lose the leaf, you have to take a look for this slide here. It is a comparison between trees that shed their leaves and the other trees that do not shed their leaves. The damaging for the trees that do not shed their leaves, it is more than the plant that shed their leaves. So as you can see here, shed of the leaves protect the plant from the harsh and from the harsh condition, from the freezing temperature in winter. So in this case, the tree will survive. While if the plant do not shed their leaves or shed their leaves in late time, so that means soft vegetation would currently freeze and damaging and killing of the tree. How? As you know, we have vascular and non-vascular plant. And in the vascular plant, there is in the leaf, the xylem and phloem. And the function of these veins is to carry the water and the nutrients. So once the temperature is very low or frozen, for the water, as you know, at 0 Celsius, the water will be frozen. So in this case, if the water frozen down here in the leaves, that means this is lead to kill the plant, and the plant will not die. The plant will die. So according to that, it's better for the plant, for the deciduous plant, to protect themselves by losing their leaves. Okay, what about the leaves once it's fall down? What will happen to this leaves? So what happened to the fallen leaf? This is lead us to go back to the connection between the biosphere and the pedosphere. Now, Earth, it is an amazing planet that you can see the recycling for everything. For example, we have recycling for water as the water cycle. And the same for the living thing, the dead body of the living thing. Here, in this case, once the leaves falling down, the decomposers start to decay the dead leaves and change it to be nutrients. So in this case, this soil, whereas the leaf falling down, it will be rich soil and it will provide the plant with good amount of the nutrients. So here, as you can see, the leaves, later it's changed to be a good soil, which is rich soil, and we call it humus. This type of soil, it is rich with the nutrient, it is spongy soil, that means the air can move through it, it is rich with the nutrient, the water can move easily through it, so the plant will grow up in a great condition and in a great way. Now, what do scientists look for the data here? Why it is important to collect these data? Now, scientists are very interested in when leaves appear in spring and how quickly they expand. Also, the timing and rate of fall leaf change, such as color changes, leaf drop, are also important for the scientist. It may seem strange that such easy to observe and common events are important for Earth system science, but they are. And these plant phenological events are directly related to global carbon fixation and the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Also, they affect or are affected by air temperature and humidity and soil moisture. This is all about my presentation about Green-Up and Green-Down protocol. This is the resources if anyone wants to use these resources. And that's all about my presentation. Thank you very much for joining my presentation. And I would like to thank Nahid for your support during this time. So thanks everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Reem. If you have any quick questions, we've got about 5 minutes. Otherwise, we will be having our question session tomorrow. And so I encourage you to save some of those questions for our discussion tomorrow. But if you've got a quick one right now, feel free.
As you like, if anyone have any question, you can ask. We have 5 minutes, or you can wait until tomorrow in the session for the question answer. So as you like, guys. Okay, it seems it's better tomorrow.
All right, excellent. Well, thank you so much. Fabulous presentation. I'm going to go ahead and stop this recording.
Okay, thank you very much.